Good evening and welcome to Sunset News this Wednesday evening. As always, we bring you news, community stories, economics, weather, and sports. I am Glenn Rashipura. In the news tonight, prominent American lawyer Eric Kesher recently engaged in a discussion with the public on the importance of ethical leadership and governance in democracy at the American Corner in the Walvis Bay Municipal Library. Let's take a look.
It's one thing to have ethical leadership, and I think we all agree that all of our public officials should act in a way with high integrity, with high ethics. But how do we hold them accountable to do that? How do we assure that ethics are being, that's a part of the decisions that are being made, and that's something that becomes the culture of our government and not just something that we talk about as an aspiration, right? We want to make sure that everyone is acting in the way that they're speaking, and so that's part of what I want to talk about in some practical ways that we could do that. But let me just start by making it a little bit personal, because I wasn't always, so I'm a public official and I serve as a city attorney and I represent public agencies, but I wasn't always, I didn't always have the same faith in my government as I do now, right? When I was younger and growing up, I was a student of history, and I know that in the United States, our Constitution is hundreds of years old. But African Americans in the United States were slaves up until 1865, right? I know that our Constitution says that every citizen has the right to vote, but African Americans in the United States didn't really have the right to vote until 1965, right? So there's a level of intellectual dishonesty to say that every citizen has a right to vote, but black people don't have the right to vote until almost 150 years after the Constitution, right? So the reason for that, and the reason that black people didn't have the right to vote, is because even though the Constitution said everyone can vote in the United States, there were different states that would impose and create laws that made it harder for my ancestors to vote. They had requirements that you had to pass a test in order to be able to register to vote. They had different laws that, if you were from a certain area, you had to vote in a place that was really far away. So they made it difficult for people to be able to vote. So the African American vote in the United States we were disenfranchised for generations and decades. And you can imagine what that feels like, as if you're from that community, you don't always feel like the government is representing you. And that's how I kind of grew up, feeling that way. And so, I mean, there's probably some young people here who might feel like the government doesn't represent them. I've been there. I felt that myself, where I just didn't see myself reflected in the decisions. I had no reason to think that they were unethical or that we weren't making decisions, but the outcomes that I was seeing produced by my government, it just didn't seem that they were doing things for my benefit.
Janice van Rooy was nominated as one of the finalists for the Elizabeth Greenfield Award. She says to a certain extent she thinks the fact that she is black held her back in opera, because for a very long time opera was elitist and dominated by white people, but that's not the case anymore. The Elizabeth Greenfield Award targets young black opera singers and aims to empower them in the transition from their studies to the beginning of their careers. Van Rooy recently performed the role of Mashiwa in the first Namibian opera, Aslan Hindundu's Chief Hiangwa, during his German debut. Several opera critics shared kind words about Van Rooy's debut. Let's take a look.
Die jong Namibiese opera-sangeres Janice van Rooy, wat onlangs as een van die 9 nominasies vir die Elizabeth Greenfield Prys aangewys is. So, Janice, as jy 'n gereelde leser van die Republikeine is, kan jy dalk onthou, sy het die vroulike hoofrol van Mashiwa in die eerste Namibiese opera vertolk tydens sy Namibiese debuut. So Janice het uitstekende resensies gekry vir die werk wat sy as Mashua gedoen het en onder meer het Opera Today gesê sy het 'n verskriklike resonante stem asook 'n houding wat altyd baie goeie tekens is van toekomstige sukses as 'n opera diva. So die Elizabeth Greenfield Prys word hoofsaaklik aan swart opera sangers en sangeresse toegeken en dit is veronderstel om hulle aan die einde van hulle studies te help om die begin van hulle loopbane te fasiliteer. So Janice het so 'n bietjie gepraat van die ervaring van 'n jong swart vrou in opera en gesê in die geskiedenis, in die verlede was dit dalk vir haar bietjie moeiliker om swart te wees in opera aangesien opera deur wit mense gedomeineer is en aangesien opera half 'n elitistiese vorm van kuns was. Maar sy sê hoewel daar min geleenthede in opera is daar nou meer geleenthede vir swart mense in opera. En sy sê eintlik of jy wit is en of jy swart is, jy moet maar net werk dat mense kan kennis neem van jou. So lees bietjie meer oor Janice, haar rol as Mashua en haar nominasie in Môre se Republikein.
Midco's reduced exports to Norway as well as a low gross profit over the past 2 years are possible reasons for the poor payments to cattle producers. This is the opinion of Reina Ritter, an independent analyst and former CEO of the Namibian Regulatory Authority for Financial Institutions. This comes after Midco said in a media statement last Tuesday that it had fallen behind with payments to cattle producers due to high slaughter volumes that had to be handled due to the drought, as well as changes in logistical documentation and procedures. All these led to a lack of cash flow, the meat factory said.
Midco se verminderde uitvoere na Noorwe asook 'n lae bruto wins oor die afgelope 2 jaar is moontlik die rede vir die swak betalings aan beesprodusente. Dit is die mening van Reina Ritter, 'n onafhanklike ontleder en voormalige uitvoerende hoof van Amfisa. Dit kom nadat Midco die afgelope Dinsdag in 'n mediaverklaring gesê het dat dit agterstallig geraak het met die betalings van beesprodusente weens hoë slagvolumes wat weens die droogte hanteer moes word.
In some rather sad news, a 15-year-old student, Benjamin Shilongo, collapsed and died in class this morning around 9 a.m. at Swakopmund Secondary School. EMED rescue services were called, and upon their arrival, the pupil was declared dead by the paramedics. Erongo Regional Inspector Eleni Shapumba confirmed the report, saying no foul play was suspected, but an autopsy will be conducted to determine the cause of death. The next of kin have been informed. Police investigations continue. Moving on to our next story, President Hage Geingob faced criticism from the youth after he was spotted at a local car wash last Sunday in Windhoek's Kadudra location, which the youth took to social media, indicating that Hage is prioritizing personal activities over pressing national matters affecting the youth. Hage, who has faced growing discontent over the management of various national crises, came under fire when images and videos of his visit to the local car wash spread rapidly across social media. The incident has stirred public outrage, with many youths questioning the president's choices amidst a host of unresolved issues plaguing the country. The backlash is rooted in the belief that Geingob's time and attention should be directed towards more urgent national concerns, especially in a country grappling with issues like unemployment, economic instability, and the ongoing battle against GBV, alcohol and drug abuse amongst the youth. The youth who spoke to the Namibian Sun on condition of anonymity said that the president's visit to the local car wash was uncalled for. Now, in our Story of the Day segment, drafting the Employee Wellness Code of Practice will guide employees and workers to develop wellness in the workplace. We tackle this story on the other side of this.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Getting into our story of the day, opening the workshop and the first day of the development of the stakeholder consultation and drafting of the Employee Wellness Code of Practice, Minister of Labour, Industrial Relations and Employment Creation, Utoni Nuyoma, says the Code of Practice will guide employers and workers to develop, implement and manage employee wellness in the workplace. The workshop takes place from the 18th to the 20th of October at the Mercure Hotel in Windhoek. Wetumwene Shigage reports.
We all know that a healthy workforce is a productive nation. Therefore, as the minister responsible for labor, I cannot emphasize enough the importance of this exercise, which intend to develop employee wellness code of practice, as it will provide guidance to employers and workers on how to develop, implement and manage employee wellness at the workplace. This framework will contribute to the improvement of safety and health at work. A healthy working environment minimizes the risk of occupational accidents, diseases and disasters in the working environment. The government of the Republic of Namibia recognizes the benefits of a safe and a healthy working environment as an enhancer or an enabler of performance, productivity, and subsequently the driving force of economic growth. The National Occupation Safety and Health Policy adopted in 2021 took cognizance of the link between occupational and psychosocial issues and their potential interaction at the workplace. Therefore, the policy seeks for the integration of employee wellness into occupational safety and health program to enhance comprehensive maintenance and promotion of workers' health. Health promotion improves long-term well-being of workers and enhances the working life. Therefore, improving work performance and productivity. Ladies and gentlemen, I was informed that the framework you are about to develop will provide for health promotion through dimensions of employee wellness, provide guidelines of management of communicable and non-communicable diseases, including HIV and TB, and guidelines to eliminate violence and harassment in the world of work.
Moving over to community news, day 2 of Feast Restaurant Week continues. We get into this on the other side of the break.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraika. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and
Friends Tega and Bernie attended day 2 of Feast Restaurant Week, which unfolded in a culinary spectacle at Katakombe Kamaya restaurant last night. Renowned international chef Roshni collaborated with restaurant's head chef Zaren Amanda to curate a delectable fusion of Namibian traditional cuisine and exotic Indian flavors. Let's take a look.
Experience, we had this, what is this called? Black eyed pea with amarula oil. Listen, this is something different on the palate. It's completely, and then the tripe, but I think the main one for me was the mixed veggies.
Yeah, the mixed veggies.
Mixed veggies, that aftertaste, totally stunning. Yeah, and should be doing this more.
And that curry sauce that they used on the traditional chicken.
Chicken, yeah?
Yeah.
How about that pap?
No. But the pap also was actually quite...
The first one, the starter.
Yeah.
No, that's
actually
the top.
a nice little dumpling type of... I wouldn't even call it a masala, but it was but just those curry flavors that came out. It was really nice.
Yeah, and at the end the masala tea. Winner.
And obviously as well the Zambezi green.
Oh yes, most definitely the fish.
What she did with the sauce around that was just...
Yeah, you know the flavors,
and it was just
the
a
different
great
flavors on the
fusion.
main course. But I think what stand out is that pap with the amarula oil, that starter, and then we wanted to try the matangara stunning. The sauce at the end. I believe what was the stunning, because they had no meat for Namibians, is the veggie part of it. Yo, that thing, it's just something different, the flavors. You think you know the food because it's kapana and it's matangara, it's mango, it's pap or whatever. But the way they've done it, no, definitely winner. Come back.
And then what Chef Rosh did, just bringing in that Indian fusion with those...
After the break, we get into your economic news.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
Getting into our economic news, consumer price inflation in South Africa increased to 5.4% in September from 4.8% in August. Similarly, annual inflation locally stood at 5.4% in September compared to 4.7% registered in August. The South African Reserve Bank Monetary Policy Committee prefers to anchor inflation expectations close to the 4.5% midpoint of its 3% to 6% target range. Let's take a look at our economic indicators. The Namibian dollar trades against the British pound at 23.02, against the euro at 19.99. $2 Namibian dollars and 60 cents gets you 1 Chinese yuan. Gold and Brent crude oil went up, while copper and platinum went down on the commodities market. Brent crude oil trading at 0.70%, going for $91.80 per barrel.
eTicket, your online ticket solution for events and event marketing, bringing you ease of mind and making sure that your event gets out there. events@nmh.com.na.
British intelligence services are analyzing evidence to independently establish the facts about Tuesday's deadly blast at a Gaza hospital, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said on Wednesday. Sunak told lawmakers that the British government will not rush to judgment before establishing more facts. The explosion killed hundreds of people, and Israelis and the Palestinians blamed each other. Israel has denied it was to blame and said the blast was caused by a failed rocket launch by Islamic Jihad. Islamic Jihad, a Palestinian militant group that is an ally of Hamas, denied that any of its rockets were involved in the blast, saying it did not have any activity in or around Gaza at the time. Let's take a look.
Any loss of innocent life is a dreadful tragedy, and everyone will be thinking both of those who have lost their lives and the families that they leave behind. We should not rush to judgment before we have all the facts on this awful situation. Every member will know that the words we say here have an impact beyond this House. This morning, I met with the National Security Advisor, but also the chair of the Joint Intelligence Committee. I can tell the honourable gentleman our intelligence services have been rapidly analysing the evidence to independently establish the facts. We are not in a position at this point to say more than that, but I can tell him we are working at pace, but also cooperating and collaborating with our allies on this issue as we look to get to the bottom of the situation, and we will also continue all our efforts to get humanitarian aid into the region.
Africa is realizing its potential and becoming an economic, political, and social powerhouse, Ethiopia's Prime Minister said earlier today. Abiy Ahmed was speaking at the Belt and Road Initiative Summit in Beijing, where he said the formerly sidelined continent was harnessing its demographic dividend and natural resources. He added that Africa has particularly suffered the consequences of the climate crisis and conflicts in other parts of the world, and that we cannot be idle observers in forums that affect common well-being. Representatives from more than 130 countries, largely in the global south, are attending the summit. Opening the ceremony, Chinese Xi Jinping lauded the BRI project, which was launched 10 years ago with a vision of building global infrastructure and energy networks connecting Asia with Africa and Europe. He also pushed against Western efforts to reduce dependence on the Chinese economy. We'll get into the sporting news right after this.
Good day and welcome to Sunset News, brought to you by SportRep. I'm Limba Mupetami, your host. The Namibia Fistball Association will wrap up the Namibian Fistball League Championship this weekend at the Sport Club Windhoek Fistball Arena. The first matches of the Bank Windhoek playoffs will kick off on Friday at 6 o'clock, where the under 11 and 14 will determine their tournament winners. On Saturday, the National League A, B and under 18 will start the tournament from 8 o'clock in the morning. The Debmarine Namibia Premier League will continue this weekend with a lineup of exciting matches. On Friday, Tigers is set to face Okahandja United, with the rest of the fixtures to be played on Saturday. Former Brave Warriors coach Ricardo Manetti is optimistic about Namibia's representation at the upcoming Africa Cup of Nations if the team is well prepared and fairly compensated. Namibia is drawn alongside South Africa, Mali and Tunisia, with the competition set to take place in January next year. That ends today's Sunset News. Do join us again tomorrow, same place, same time.
That was Limba Mupetami with the sports news. If you have just joined us, worry not, here are the news highlights from today's broadcast. Prominent American lawyer Eric Kasher recently engaged in a discussion with the public on the importance of ethical leadership and governance in democracy at the American Corner in the Walvis Bay Municipal Library. Janice van Rooyen was nominated as one of the finalists for the Elizabeth Greenfield Award. She says to a certain extent she thinks the fact that she is black held her back in opera because for a very long time opera was elitist and dominated by white people, but that's not the case anymore. The Namibia Fistball Association will wrap up the Namibian Fistball League Championship this weekend at the Sports Club Windhoek Fistball Arena. The first matches of the Bank Windhoek playoffs will kick off on Friday at 8 p.m, where the under-11 and under-14 will determine their tournament winners. On Saturday, the National League A, B, and under-18 will start the tournament from 8 a.m. in the morning. And with that, we've come to the end of our broadcast. Make sure you join Sunset News on Facebook, on all the NMH platforms on weekdays, as well as on our website, oneup2.com. Sunset News screens on DSTV channel 285 and GoTV channel 25 every weekday and Sundays from 7:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. I am Glenora Shipura, and this has been Sunset News. Don't end your day without us.